Felt like a side character in my own life. Never gonna be good enough. I'm really like putting myself out there right now. Hi and welcome back to my channel if you don't know me. My name is Grace. Today it's 9:24 a.m. I have a day off work, pimple on my eyebrow, Rooibos cup of tea. Honestly, all I've done this morning, I haven't even had breakfast. I just got out of bed, showered, made myself a tea, had a banana, and now I'm here. By the way, before I get started into this video, I wanted to say thank you for everybody that messaged me last video. Obviously just people I know and I don't have a following or anything. Yeah, I don't know, it just really meant a lot to me, and I definitely was really nervous to start a YouTube channel just because the classic. It's ironic that I'm talking about this because it relates to this video so much. You know, caring about what people think and worrying that people will judge me. So yeah, thank you if you sent me a message. There's so many things that I want to do for this video. I've narrowed it down and I'm going to talk about experiencing shame, never feeling good enough, my journey with unworthiness, all of that. So, what can I say? First of all, outlining my personality a little bit. I think I'm somebody who has a tendency to sometimes get wrapped up in image and how I'm presented to other people and what people think of me, and you know, just trying to manipulate people's ideas of me. I'm somebody that has a tendency to really compare myself to people. Can be such a neurotic person. Voice of doubt has been really present in my mind for a long time. So I guess paired with all of those things, it makes sense that this is something that I struggle with so intensely. In terms of not just traits of my personality, but actual real life struggles. I grew up really comparing myself to my best friend Alea, in high school especially, that was the peak of it. So I think from the years 14 to 16, before she actually moved over to America, that was the worst of my sense of self-worth. It was so pervasive that I literally started perceiving everything from that lens, and it is so true that the world is a projection of you. And so if I'm in a place where I feel really insecure, then things around me are going to start validating that belief that this person is better than me, or I am unworthy, or this person doesn't like me. I just felt like a background character. This whole concept of being the main character came. I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what I always used to feel that I couldn't put into terms. Felt like a side character in my own life. I did that to myself, but at the time it just felt like that was reality and that was something that I'd have to come to terms with. I'm really putting myself out there right now. When Alea moved to America, that was definitely a big transition. On hindsight, it was actually a really good thing for us. I was so young, so I didn't even know myself at all. So I think that kind of just having somebody that I constantly felt like I was in a competitive game with, or I was constantly comparing myself to, made it difficult for me to actually just get to know myself and be in a space where it was completely all up to me to just define what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be, sort of thing. So I think when she left, I definitely progressed a lot in that area, although now looking back on it and coming out of that mindset, I notice over the years how I would use certain external things as measures of my worth. Here are examples right now on the screen. But this year I had a really, really low point with the intensity of my unworthiness and of my shame. And it's interesting, whenever it comes up, it's the exact same feeling. It feels really lonely, it feels isolating. I can be with people that I love and they're struggling with this thing, and it makes me feel really disconnected from them. The event that happened, it wasn't anything that at all defined my worth, and even in the moment I knew that, but oh my god, it just such a trigger. I saw Alea straight after it had happened, coincidentally, and I just was bawling because I was trying to hold in crying for 3 hours. It was really weird. For the next 2 days, I had such a deflated sense of self-worth. And I guess that was the time that made me really wake up and go, fucking hell, I cannot live like this. I'm not doing this anymore. I became aware of things there is a part of me that clings on to that pain, which I think people can relate to. It's when you feel that feeling come on, you will actively do things to make it worse. You'll self-sabotage, you will go deeper into that feeling. It being almost easier to just be a victim, because it is. I would say that it's definitely easier. A lot of the times more comfortable, I also had the realization, like, when I went that low, I was just like crying and feeling so shit. What is literally the point of this? There is no point. I'm not gaining anything from this. Another realization that I had, thinking that you are way worse than others is still self-centered, because you're taking away from the commonality that binds all of us. It's like the other end of the stick of thinking that you're way better than other people. Like, I am the worst person on earth. Like, really? You think you're the worst person on earth? Mindfulness. Mindfulness has helped me in so many areas of my life. The greatest gift of mindfulness is the ability to observe and recognize that the voice inside my head is not me. There's been other benefits, just makes my mind quieter overall. I'm able to be present more, but that is all just rooted in the ability to observe my mind. And also it really just gives me that bigger perspective. Makes me realize how, like, my mind, it's all just fucking noise in my head. It's just all this insignificant noise. Literally just realizing, oh my God, I'm letting my whole self and what I do and how I feel and how I act based on how I feel be determined by this little voice fucking noise in my head that's saying something. I was like, how ridiculous. In triggered moments, waking up and being like, oh my God, that's literally the part of me. That's literally that part of me speaking right now. When you can recognize that voice for what it is, it can no longer have so much power over you. And this is what I've found with anything that's taken a hold of me in my mind. It's almost like that third eye thing, like you open your wise eye and you see that thing for what it is, it can no longer have the same power over you. And I also use mindfulness as a way of like really hearing that part of myself and learning to understand that part of myself more. And mindfulness has allowed me not to allow my experience or my identity or myself just to be defined by this voice. And I'm not there yet. It still does somewhat have a power over me, but even when it does, just being in witness of that takes away a lot of that power. Mindfulness is like just such a huge one, and I recommend it to help you with any area of your life, to just like make you enjoy life more, because we don't realize how much we are just believing what our mind says, even though it's just like noise in our head, and that we are in this unconscious state where our mind's constantly on, just defining our experience. Another thing that really helps me is talking it out, expression. For me, unworthiness can feel really, really isolating. When I feel like that, I feel like I'm the only person in the world that feels like the scum of the earth, and that feels like they can't get anything right, and it just puts me into this oppressive state. And something that I do to reclaim my power, and again this creates distance from it, is actually expressing those feelings. And when you express it, you'll notice that, well, for me anyway, that there is this part of me that's speaking and having these thoughts, and there's a more self-aware part of me who is speaking about that experience. And so that, again, it creates that distance. If you're not talking about it, then you're allowing it to control you, and you're giving that part of you power. Yeah, that's why in my friendship with Alea, like, if I'm having a trigger come up around just feeling shameful and feeling unworthy, I will just talk to her about it. I'll say, hey, this really triggered me, and I've been dealing with this and this kind of thought, and my mind is saying this and it's making me feel like this. Really just talking it out and having other people hear you, and also validate that it's in your fucking head as well, so much more in your head than you realize. For me, in the past, certain moments where I'd be in my shame, I just didn't want to reveal that part of myself because it made me vulnerable, and I didn't want people to think less of me because of it, which again is allowing that part of you to take hold of you and to speak through you and to define your actions. And actually being able to talk about it is a sign that it doesn't have as much power over you. Also, not just to your friends, but like talk about it to like a professional, to a therapist. Sometimes it is really helpful to get an objective view and also get some strategies to actually cope when you're feeling like that. Another thing is writing. It allows me to get clarity, and it gives me an opportunity to rewrite my narratives, rewrite my beliefs, rewrite the things that I've told myself about who I am and my abilities and what I am and what I'm defined by. It gives me the opportunity to reflect on everything that I felt, and then at the end I like to affirm a few things and really try and connect that. I actually want to get my journal out because I did a little journal entry yesterday reminding myself that I have an inclination to be drawn into superficial comparison games. I know the world is a projection and my worthiness is not displayed externally in any way. I've got to remember how I isolate myself and give power to my shame by believing its truth so much that it oppresses me into silence, knowing thoughts are thoughts and that I'm undefined by setbacks or triggers, giving myself all that I need, observing my mind's way of tricking me into smallness, being an observation of the part of me while knowing that it is not me. Meditate, yoga, talk, cry, write. Give myself all the love and kindness that I deserve and am so worthy of. Remembering also that the human condition is defined by suffering and everyone has their own invisible struggle. In areas I may not even blink an eye. The commonality of human experience can be reassuring. So anyway, that's just like a whole general thing of what I got out of just one triggered moment. Even things like saying if something gets toxic, I can move away from it, reclaiming that power. Remember that there's always a space for me to come back to like my meditation practice or my yoga, or I can talk about it, or I can cry, or I can write, just reminding myself that there's so many ways that I can sit with this rather than just completely letting it overcome me and just wallowing. So I'm just almost finished editing this video, but I wanted to make sure that I put in as a disclaimer, everything that I say are things that I have really discovered work for me over a span of years. I have struggled with unworthiness and comparison since I was really, really young. So it took me a really long time to develop tools that actually worked for me and that actually had an effect. And so yeah, I think that everybody's different in that way. I also wanted to say about the mindfulness and all of this as well, like it's so not easy to transcend this part of yourself that feels unworthy and feels not enough. It's not an easy thing at all. And with mindfulness especially, like I've been meditating since I was like 14 and it really is only until probably this year that I've really started to actually reap the like real benefits of meditation and actually be able to observe my mind in my daily life and not have things take a hold of me. Yeah, I've always really struggled with being in my head, and it's not as easy as like detaching yourself from this really intense feeling and part of you that you're experiencing. It's not that easy. It's not just observe the mind and it's fine. So I want to make sure that I disclaim that as well. It's just a tool to actually help you create distance. It doesn't mean it's going to go away. It doesn't mean that the feeling is any less real. I feel like it's such a process to actually learn to hold your power and love yourself and hold your confidence in the world. So it's really just not an easy thing at all. And I was thinking as I was watching the video that I kind of didn't mention that enough. I also want to say as well, like I am actually in the best place that I've been in terms of how I feel about myself, but that's always fluctuating. And there's so many moments where like I'm sure in the future I'll watch this video and I'm like, fuck, I wish I could connect to that right now. Like I feel really shitty, but you know what? All I can do is continue trying and use these tools that I know have worked. I just wanted to say that I'm really hungover. I look like a little rat. My room's also a mess. Anyway, yeah, back to the video. I think I'm doing my conclusion now. I have so much more to say on this topic, but I feel like I have really expressed the main things that are really, really helping me. I think I've talked for like 40 minutes. Remind yourself that you are loved. Remind yourself that there's literally nothing that could ever make you unworthy. You are inherently a worthy and beautiful, beautiful being. If you have thoughts, comment them down below because I would appreciate some feedback. I will see you in my next video.